It's easy to get lost. This is The Revenue Maze, and I'm Valerie Cobb. Join me as we navigate the halls, dead ends, and U-turns on our path towards upward growth trajectory. The Revenue Maze is sponsored by Lodestar URY, guidance and execution through fractional revenue leadership, uncovering hidden revenue streams, and empowering small business growth through process-driven sales. Welcome everybody to the Revenue Maze. We have amazing guests here, Kaye and Layne Frank. Kaye is a insurance guru and a co-founder of V50. And then we have Layne Frank, who is also with a co-founder of V50, BBH Solutions. And these guys are just great. I enjoy having them and just loving to get to know you. But before we get to know a little bit more about you guys, I would love to ask you my typical question on the Revenue Maze, because we got to come out swinging with this, is what is one strategy that you guys employ to get out of the Revenue Maze and move upward in growth trajectory?
Yeah, I mean, Layne, if you don't mind.
Take it away, Mr. Kaye.
Why my co-founder, partner, compadre, Layne and I are so close is because we are very aligned on this one thing. And as far as a revenue maze, it's all about relationship, Valerie. Without the relationship, without the foundation of a relationship, there's really not much there. You're never going to get yourself out of the revenue maze without building and curating that relationship. Layne?
And look, and to go a step further, those relationships will take you out of the revenue maze. You know, myself and Alan have built over the past 25 years successful businesses because of relationships. And when you have that relationship, let them do the work for you and guide you and help you through that revenue maze.
Cool. So that brings up a good topic with it, because you're saying when you have that relationship, that's going to get us out there. So how do we fix that? How do we develop those relationships? What do you guys want to tell us a little bit about that?
Well, it doesn't happen overnight. That's that's for sure.
You mean I can't buy?
Doesn't happen overnight. At least 6 months. No, it's an art form. And, you know, myself and Alan in our careers, you know, I've been in tech in a sales capacity for over 25 years. Alan's been in insurance, but had a successful sports marketing company, started out in the family business as well as I did out of college. But we've both always been in a sales capacity. So relationships are key to that. And it just takes time. You have to nourish them, and you really have to find out a lot about the person you want to establish that relationship, see what you can offer them, how you can help them, how you can support them, because it's going to take a long time before you're able to ask them to help you. So it's a real nurturing process to really understand who that person is and what type of relationship you want to build with that person.
Well said. Well said.
Well said.
And if I can just take that a little bit a step further, you know, both of us being in this, you know, sales positions, you know, for the most part, the clients, prospects see it as a commoditized product, service. You have to strip that away.
Okay.
I don't see myself as a commoditized anything, because I know the arsenal of value add that I am bringing to a conversation goes well beyond, you know, the actual transaction. And to what Layne said, it's not something that you just jump into and say, hey, let's be best friends. There is so much time, effort that you have to put into it, whether it's research online about the person, whether it's, you know, about where they went to school. Do they have kids? Do they, you know, what they like, and see if it's even a fit. So.
What is But so many have challenges with networking, with relationships, right? Because you're saying research online, you're saying learn about the person, but isn't it just really about what you learned when you were a child in friendships, that you actually started to try to talk to people and you were very interested in what they were doing and all of those amazing things?
Yeah. I mean, Layne and I, it's when we speak, and we speak 30 times a day, it blows our mind how it just doesn't come natural. And it doesn't come natural to most. We've always been very successful, especially prior to COVID, when we were doing our in-person events. Mm-hmm. Layne would be the first one to run over to the bar and say, hey, put your drink down, go meet this gal or guy. I think it could be great for you, where that person would have never even thought to do that. And just because you're walking out of a room with a handful of business cards, that's not building a relationship. Okay. Just because you're building on your address book and contacts, it all means nothing if you don't have the substance of who that person is.
Yeah. And you mentioned one thing, Valerie. Doesn't it start at a really young age? And the answer is yes, of course it does. Alan says it the best. Treat people the way you want to be treated, and don't be a you-know-what.
I know what he says.
You-know-what. Yeah. You've heard him say it. Don't be a you-know-what. Just treat people the way they need to be treated. Be human to human. The rest works itself out. And you mentioned also, if you're afraid of networking, don't look at it as networking. Exactly. Turn it upside down on its head. Just have a conversation. That's the best way to start a relationship.
You see what it says, next to Layne, authenticity?
Yeah.
It's not just something that he throws up there. Layne is one of the most authentic people you'll ever meet. And when you're speaking with him, you feel like he's only speaking to you. He only cares about you. And it's again, Layne and I laugh because to us, it's such a simple formula.
Yeah.
Just be authentic, be genuine. Don't have an ulterior motive. And if you do, come out with it.
Be genuine about that too.
Yeah, be genuine. Listen, if you only want to use me and use my connections, or my, you only want me for a transaction, hey, I'm good with that. I'm a grown adult. Tell me that. I'll respect you more than when I find out down the road, you were trying to pull the wool over my eyes, because there are no second chances with me. It goes back to the whole don't be a
beep, 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 beep.
Yeah.
As you can tell, we're very passionate about building relationships and helping and supporting, people within our circle, our tribe, Amen. As we call it.
Amen.
Yeah. I mean, that's, I honestly, that's why I was excited to even interview you guys today, because you are very genuine, both of you. And it does boil down to those relationships. And I think kind of hit the nail on the head a little bit. If you've got an ulterior motive, don't, tell, if that's what you're doing, you're networking for referral networks or whatever, tell people you're networking for, but what is it that you're doing, and make sure that you're just genuine with it. I think in interviewing a lot of salespeople and training salespeople, head trash is a big deal, because in their mind, they start to think, hey, I'm not being genuine or whatever. Well, quit. Be genuine. If you're selling something you shouldn't be selling, get out.
Exactly.
So.
And I think even more so, Valerie, throughout COVID, I think a lot of people have sort of pivoted in their mindset, what's acceptable and what's the way things should be. And I feel a lot of people have grown and created real human connections, through being on Zoom and seeing the person's dog or the child running behind, or, hearing certain things in the background that you probably shouldn't be hearing, or you wouldn't hear in a corporate boardroom. But we love it because that's real, that's genuine, and that's who we want to deal with.
Yeah. And working sometimes and being around you guys, I was laughing. I wore a t-shirt that says love and it'll be backwards, on purpose, because even
I thought it said evil.
It said evil. No, it says love.
Evil.
But I wore the t-shirt because it reminds me reminds me of that group, and when you guys are networking, because there's been many times where Layne and Alan you both have said, I love you guys, and that it, and you know it. So it's really a cool thing. So how'd you get here? How did you guys start? What's going on in both of your lives that brought you to this point in your career and what you're doing?
Well, Layne, you want me to?
Yeah, please.
So, we were fortunate enough to go to college together. Mm-hmm. Sort of lost touch after a couple of years, like a lot of people do when they're trying to find their way. And I was we were both fortunate enough to have a mutual friend that reconnected us and, didn't skip a beat. And he had an amazing network. I had an amazing network. We both love to go out and put good people together. And we're like, hey, let's see what we got here. Let's see if we can mesh the two groups. And it was a blast. We were in New York City. What's better, right? A rooftop, a patio, whatever it was. And it was just amazing people. Again, a lot of amazing people that didn't know how to network or talk to someone else, but we got them out of that.
Yeah.
And COVID happens. The heck is COVID? I'm sitting here like, oh yeah, Layne, I'll see you Monday. And then, we have the dinner set up for Thursday. We're talking like March, the teens, 2020. And then they shut the city down. They shut the world down. So now me being a hugger, an in-person, I didn't have Skype on my phone. I didn't have Skype on my computer. I didn't know what that was, let alone Zoom. Zoom, I thought, like I always say, I thought it was a TV show from the 70s growing up. And I'm flipping out, Valerie, flipping out. And I call who I would always call when I'm flipping out. I call my buddy Layne. And he's like, oh, dude, you'll never guess. Virtual5o'clock.com was available. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, are you listening to me? What are we doing about these people? And he goes, I got it. I got a web design company. They're going to put up a web page for us next week. And I registered virtual5o'clock.com. And we're going to host a happy hour. And Layne, take it from there.
Yeah, and it always makes me smile because we've told this story so many times in so many different iterations. Taking a step back, the hardest part of being shut down, Valerie, was not necessarily that change and transition and pivot we had to make, but Alan and I spoke, that first weekend. We were generally concerned about our people and our network because they relied so heavily on Alan and my events and getting together and bringing people together. It was like we were responsible for their pipelines, per se. And it was crazy. So it felt like we had this burden. And mind you, we hosted our first, virtual happy hour on Tuesday, March 24th at 5:00, and we had over 100 people show up. And to get to to keep it real quick, most people were off camera. The ones that were on were sitting way far back in this little silhouette, and people were really uncomfortable and didn't know what was happening. And you heard the stories and the layoffs. And people getting sick and dying. And it was like, oh my God, what's happening? And I remember saying specifically, and I quote, at the end of about an hour and a half, I said, look, here's what we're going to do. We're going to meet every Tuesday and Thursday at 5:00, check in, see how we can help one another, make sure everybody's doing all right. Cause we're all going to be back in our office in 3 weeks. Fast forward, we'll be celebrating our 2-year anniversary of V50 on March 24th, 2022. Yeah. And it's just been a long, amazing journey during the way. And we can talk about it for hours, but we don't have that much time on this podcast. But the fundamental the fundamentals and the foundation was always the same, and what Alan and I always believed: relationships. We proved the impossible. We have built so many meaningful relationships across hundreds, if not thousands of people around this country and now worldwide, virtually. They said it was impossible, but we proved we can do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And just quickly, Valerie, it all, came to fruition. We celebrated our 100th happy hour. Thank God we were all allowed to get back together.
Yep.
We did it on a rooftop in Manhattan, and 70 plus people, V50 members, flew in from all over the country. And you had to witness it to believe it. For the first 15 minutes, it wasn't a dry eye on that rooftop. And it was just like everyone just gabbing and talking as if we all went to camp together or elementary school together, and we all just reconnected. You can't make that up.
Yeah.
You can't fake that. Those were genuine tears. And I have the funniest photos and video of Layne and myself and a couple other members closing down that rooftop that night. Maybe a little bit too much to drink, but dancing and hugging and kissing. And these are people we met online, and not in a creepy way online.
Yeah. I'm glad it's not in a creepy way. I'm glad you elaborated.
Just wanted to note that.
Yes, no, I think that's wonderful. I think people definitely are, first of all, starved for relationships period, and then through COVID, there was a lot going on, especially in some of the metropolitan areas like New York City and LA. I think a lot were starved and they couldn't figure out where to go. And these are business. A lot of them are the business relationships. They didn't know what to do, Yeah. So that's fantastic. So let's talk a little bit about, your older, wiser selves talking to your younger selves. What would you do differently today? What would that be like?
Oh, we've had that topic before.
I was going to say, that was a breakout topic.
Yeah, we've had that topic before.
Take it.
Well, it's still fresh in my memory because I think we did this about a month and a half ago with a panel and group of people. If you can look back, what would you tell your younger self? I would I would tell my younger self, there's no such thing as perfection. Get it out of your head. No such thing as perfection. We've all been down that road. We all strive for it. We all thought we could achieve it. And sometimes it did feel perfect. And that's a good thing. There are moments that feel perfect. And that's when you can reward yourself. That's when you can celebrate. But understand perfection is not a way of life. It's things and a feeling that might just happen every once in a while. On a personal note, I tell my younger self, your heart's going to get broken at times. It is, but all hearts heal. It doesn't feel that way when it happens, especially when you're young, or even not so young when you experience something for the very first time that breaks your heart. But tell my younger self, don't worry. All hearts are going to heal. Yeah. Those are the two things that come to my head right away.
Yeah, I would tell younger Alan, don't be first and foremost, because never burn a bridge, mm-hmm. and keep those people that are close to you really close.
Yeah,
it's that simple. And again, it's going back to obviously be authentic, be genuine.
Yeah.
I can't say it enough, and I can't stress it enough. Just how important that is.
And if I can add one thing, Valerie, and especially to the audience who's listening, some of them might be saying, and it's a great little pivot in business. Some of them might be saying, well, how do you form new relationships? How do you conduct business day in and day out, because you have to build new relationships? And, it's one thing Alan and I have a lot of great customers. We have amazing relationships, but we still have to build our pipeline. We still have to bring in new business on a constant basis. So how do you form that relationship immediately? You don't. It takes time. So what do you have to do to get in that door to begin creating this new amazing relationship that you're striving for? And I would tell everybody here and tell your audience, do your research, understand how this business you're chasing or prospect or person is being affected by the events of what's happening today. What is their business going through, and how can you possibly help? Do your research on that. Also, cite examples of problems that you have been able to remediate that they're going to be able to relate to. Everybody loves to hear how you're helping someone else that might be able to help and affect them. So do those little things and take them on a little journey about your experiences and what you're doing and what your company's doing, and how at the end of the day, you're going to ultimately help them. And just bring them something that might not necessarily be in your scope of work, or a solution or policy that you can provide. Go the extra mile and do something completely different than your competition is doing and offering.
And if I could add to that, and that's great, Layne, it's all about your energy also. Like, you have to exude positive energy. That's who people want to surround themselves with. That's who they want to be around with. They don't want a doomsayer or the person that walks around like this. They want that positive energy. And it could be as little as smiling at someone on the street. My parents had pushed me into sales because they're like, you'll talk to the wall. And you know what? It's again, maybe I take it for granted because it comes naturally, but ask someone how they are. Go beyond that actual because I'm going to go talk to them because I think it's a good business opportunity. Again, it all goes back to being genuine and authentic. But if you give off that positive energy, people are going to want to be around you. People need that. People don't know how to create that themselves sometimes.
Yeah.
So I think it's so important to approach any scenario as positive and, exuding as much positive energy as you can. If that makes any sense.
I 100% agree with that, because if you look out at the masses of people, business or personal relationship, to me, I blur them, because I like just treating people as human beings, right? This isn't necessarily a business transaction. I'm the guy that's going to be up at night re-networking your system in the middle of the night because you went down, just because I care about you, not because I care about the whole thing, right? So when I think about that, someone, I don't remember who said it, but if you looked out at the masses and thought that 50% of them are going through a trial at any given time in their life, you'd be right. So that's 1 in 2 of everybody on the street. And if you get to a point where you actually look and say, hey, listen, they need a smile. They need something positive. They need something fun to think about. I mean, we've got some stuff in the globe going on right now. It's crappy, right? And people are not always having a good time with some of those things. So don't add to it. Be positive.
And that's such a great point, that don't be a narcissist. Don't be all about you.
Yes.
Because you're right. Be cognizant that other person, that's a human being dealing with the same things, the same health issues, the same daily grind that everyone else is dealing with. And when you start taking that into account, you're not so quick to react, or you're not so quick to take the negative, oh, they're blowing me off. No, maybe they're not blowing you off. Maybe, God forbid, something's going on in their life that they can't handle right now to focus on whether they want my policy or not. So, you have to take all this into account and really be compassionate towards others, and understand that, we're all going through this thing called life together. And just because you may have a little bit more money, or you might know some better people, I don't care who you are, we're all going to the same place.
Yeah.
And, not to be a downer,
It was funny in a sales situation early in my career, and I don't interject much on these podcasts, but I tell people I learned to sell from Nordstrom. I didn't know I was a sales. I just, naturally talk to people as well. And I remember everybody, because in my degree, I was supposed to be a buyer. That's what I was trying to do. But Nordstrom has everybody sell so that they get to know the customer, right? And as they're training you, you're going through all these different things and you're thinking, okay, it's retail. You're walking through the door. It's inbound leads. It's all this great stuff, and you go in and you, anyways, the ladies on the floor, they literally commissioned and everything, the sales reps at Nordstrom. And the ladies on the floor with me, there's an older gentleman came in quite dirty, messed up looking, the whole 9 yards, and they scattered. And I walked up to him and said, hey, can I help you with, like the Labrador, just tongue hanging out the side kind of thing and running around. And because I just wanted to help him. And that guy laid down so much money. He just needed a gift for his wife. And it was just like, oh, okay. And I wasn't expecting it. It just was there. And sometimes that will work out and sometimes it won't. Sometimes you'll refer somebody to somebody else or whatever they need, and make sure that those people are taken care of. But if your goal is to be genuine and your goal is to provide whatever is good for that human being, then you will, by virtue, network. Well, you're not just going up and saying, hey, can you buy something? Or, and people tend to be drawn to that and drawn to the positivity. I love that.
Yeah. And another thing, Valerie, that, makes Layne and I go like this.
Scratch your head.
Yeah. It just, like you mentioned, Nordstrom, I'm sure you went through some sort of sales process, sales training. We've all been there.
Yep.
I don't know who's making up these handbooks or training courses, but there's nothing in there about building the relationship or building any kind of rapport. It's numbers, right? Reach out to as many as you can. And, for the most part, again, I don't want to throw everyone in the same bucket, but what I find is when I get young brokers who come to our brokerage and I have to basically like break down a horse, like, no, that's not how we do it here. It's not about just getting a big Rolodex, if anyone knows what a Rolodex is anymore, and just, the cold calling. That's not what it's about. It's, again, going back to the relationship. So it makes us crazy at times where we hear, I got to make this many calls a day. And I'm like, oh my God, you're going to get yourself right into this revenue maze and you're never coming out.
It is a revenue. They're going right up against the wall.
Yeah. Never read a sales training manual I didn't want to throw in the trash afterwards.
Yeah. And Layne, I mean, my God, Layne used to cold call for an insurance company.
No.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. You have to start. And I'll give a little tip to the listeners, especially the younger generation that want to be in a sales capacity and understand and overcome objection. You're not going to overcome objection reading a manual. You're not going to overcome objection until you get out there and experience it. And I would emphasize and ask, do this one thing. Go to your favorite places that you always go to. That deli, that clothing store, the retail shop, everywhere where you buy something. When you go to that cash register to check out, ask the person for a discount.
Oh.
Ask the person for a discount. A lot of times they're going to look at you like you're crazy, but every once in a while, you're going to get it. And what you do with that, it's up to you. That's where you can learn really quickly at a very young age how to get outside your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Ask for a discount. Works all the time. Promise you. Promise.
It's brilliant. And every time one of my young producers, I get on the weekly calls and they're like, oh my God, another no. And I'm like, yeah, but you're one step closer to that yes. Don't be down about the no. If they can't recognize your value, there's plenty of others. You're one step closer to that. Yes. And again, it all goes back to being positive, sending out the positive juju and having it come back.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Jim Kemp, he said, go for no.
Yeah.
People need to be able to say no, right?
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. So let's talk about just what you guys are passionate about. What do you guys like to do in your free time? Tennis, golf, I motorcycle ride. What do you guys like to do?
What free time?
I'll let you know when I get some.
In the middle of a pandemic still, Valerie. What do you want free time? No, you could start, Alan. Take it away.
You know what? I really do enjoy, and I feel like I'm blessed. I love spending time with my wife. I love spending time with my family. I love spending time with Layne, where we're not talking about, oh my God, we have a breakout or the happy hours coming. It's spending really quality time with the people that I love. I do have a passion that I shared with my father and grandfather. We amassed a Yankee sports card collection dating back to the 1880s when they were the Highlanders, and then up until I think we stopped in like the late 90s. But my son has taken on that passion, and my son now brought into his generation with the NFTs, and please don't even ask me what an NFT is or what it does, or all I know is that he wants to take my cards and create NFTs and burn and destroy my cards. And I don't know, but
let's not even.
It's really just, sort of living in the now, appreciating the people that I choose to keep around me and that want to be around me. And that's, at this point in my life, that's all that matters.
Cool. All right, Layne, he gave you a good shout out, Layne.
Yeah.
It's an authentic one. I love that guy.
I was only half joking when I said time. Who has free time? But Alan can tell you, I do put a lot of time in. I enjoy working towards my goals, whether that's business or personal. And unfortunately, until quite recently, we've had a lot of time in our hands because we didn't have a whole lot of freedoms to do a lot of the things we wanted. So like Alan, we put a lot of time into our work, V50, spending as much time with family. Look, spend more time with my family in 2 years than ever spent in my entire life combined with them going through this. But I enjoy the little things just because I don't have a hobby. Yeah, I like golf. Don't get out there much. What I've enjoyed the most is the free times on the weekends, starting early. I have this beautiful new doggy, this amazing mini golden, and he's all mine. And I throw him in the Jeep and we drive to the beach, which is only about 15 minutes from my house. And we just walk. And we just walk. And it's my time to go a little brain dead and listen to the sounds of the water and the seagulls and just go to a different place. That's where I've been getting my most relaxing enjoyment. It's just being able to turn it off, because it is really hard for Alan and I to turn it off. Very difficult, but we're getting better at it and learning to do it more. And the rewards are amazing when you can achieve a state of bliss just for a little while.
Yeah. No,
it's pretty cool to watch, Layne throughout this whole, because like myself, he's an amazing father also. And to both of us, our kids are everything. And on both sides, our sets of kids are just really good people. So we know we're doing something right at the end of the day. As far as spending, a lot of time with our family. Layne and I both had hair down to here prior to COVID. And now you can see what that, no, I'm kidding.
I want to see that.
But nothing makes me happier than when I get a text from Layne on Saturday saying I'm taking Kobe to the beach, and I just know that's like, good. You need that, because sometimes he needs me to remind him, turn it off. You can't fix everything for everyone 24 hours a day, because eventually you're going to need fixing.
Wow, you guys inspire me, because this is an off topic and not getting on this podcast. There's something in my life that I should share with you at some point, but yeah, that is great that you guys have that friendship, and
all ears and open arms for you.
Yeah, 24/7 for you. No, seriously, don't laugh.
No, I know you're serious. If anybody listening, these guys are totally serious. They give the shirt off their back for that kind of stuff. So no, I totally appreciate it. And V50 has been a very unique community. So I'm going to have you guys sort of plug it just a little bit here, because it's different than most networking groups that I've been involved with. Just so, you've got your Vistages and you've got a bunch of that kind of stuff going around. But this is unique. This is something special. So I'm gonna have you guys plug that, and then the audience needs to kind of know where to reach you guys, because I'm sure that they would love to join in and network as well, and build those relationships. So Alan.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit more about V50 and the uniqueness of what V50
and
is.
Again, I think you see Layne twitch a little when you say network. It's people, please, you need to check it out for yourself. It's so much more than a business networking group. That is not what we are. If you're coming to sell, yes, there's an opportunity to do that, but it's so far beyond that. What we've managed to do somehow, some way, and we all refer to ourselves as the misfits throughout COVID that all found each other, who really care. And our proudest moments are, I think we've gotten, more than a dozen people jobs throughout COVID.
Yeah.
How? Just by coming on saying, hey, I'm transitioning, I got fired, and you get bombarded by the members. Hey, talk to this one, talk to that one. And it's, when you talk about inspiring, and I get the chills from it. Prior to COVID, maybe every few months, every 8 months, 10 months, maybe a year, you'd meet one gem that you really want to keep close. Somehow, some way, on a weekly basis, Layne and I are blessed to meet 2 or 3 new ones. And they see it from the second they come on the happy hour. They turn from a guest to a member within 24 hours. And it's just continuously just keeping growing. And we're here for personal, we're here for business. We're all about pushing you out of your comfort zone. It's about expressing your vulnerabilities, because once you're vulnerable and you share those with those around you, you're going to be willing to do business with only those people. I love coming on. I am not Alan, the insurance guy. I hated being known as the insurance guy. The last thing anyone needs in their life is another insurance guy. That's not who Layne and I are.
Yeah.
We come on, it's Layne and Alan, the family guys, the great dads, the dog owners, and on and on and on. And Layne, please.
And I'll just wrap it up very quickly. We've turned the status quo completely upside down. The focus from day one and now 24 months later is still the same. We focus on the health and wellness of people and our community. And when you need to step up and help someone, that's the first thing you do, and you think about it. And it pays its dividends big time. And we're going to continue on that path, on the trajectory, and our growth of building this community now globally, and with always the same focus: help, support, giving. And we use words like authenticity and vulnerability and community and human to human. And we throw around the word love to one another more times in a day than you can imagine, but it's so truthful and genuine. And it's just, it's been an amazing experience. And it's gotten Al and I through some of the darkest times over the past 2 years. And we owe everybody a big thank you and the world to them for being a part of this.
Yeah, it really is a different group. I love the vibe from it. I'm glad that I was associated, that I am associated, and because
I was
it
like,
is,
were? You mean were?
yeah, no, I am. And I just have really, really felt that it has helped me in my business as well. And so from anything from what you both were talking about, but best practices, you know, there's a lot of really rock star people in the groups, and the master classes and some of the other things that are going on. It's just exactly what people needed. So that's awesome. So I really am grateful that you guys came on, Alan and Layne, and tell us where, Alan, where you can be reached if anybody wants to reach out to you, and then Layne, the same.
Sure. ALAN at virtual5o'clock.com. Alan at virtual5o'clock.com.
Perfect. All right.
And I'm Layne with a Y. Got to make that point. LAYNE at virtual5o'clock.com. And you can obviously find myself and Alan on LinkedIn, Instagram, at Layne Frank, and it's at Alan Kaye as well.
Alan M as in Michael K.
Correct.
Yeah, awesome.
And Valerie, I just want to say to you, thank you so much for being who you are and what you do, because you've become an inspiration to a lot of our members, and you are the ideal person that we want as part of our community. You've become such an integral part of it. So Layne and I can't say enough about you, and kudos to everything that you're doing.
Oh, well, that was very nice. Very nice. And I'd like to thank you guys and thank all the people listening on the Revenue Maze. They can join us at www.therevenuemaze for YouTube links. They can also go through various different podcast stations and things like that for this. I'd love to invite them all to join V50 as well. And I just want to thank you guys again. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Valerie.
Thank you all for joining another great episode. For show notes, links, and resources, visit revenuemaze.com. And never forget, you are why.